Hello everybody, we're getting ready to do lesson 10.1 of geometry here, and well, you know all this information by now. Let's get to it. 10.1, simplifying square roots. We got classwork here of 54 points. Here are our standards up here, understood by similarity. Side ratios and right triangles are properties of the angles in the triangle, leading to the definition of trigonometric ratios for acute angles. And to do that, we need to know how to simplify square roots. Here's our bell work today. Students, start in on this as you come in your classroom. Homeschoolers, this is your warm-up. Teachers, pause the video or PowerPoint for about 5 minutes for students to do this. Okay, coming back, this is your solution here for number 2. Evaluate the expression when we have different dimensions here for a pi w squared h, which is a formula. See, pi w squared h would be for, see, pi r squared h. If this is a formula for a volume of a cylinder, and evidently the radii is 2, and then the height of the cylinder is 5. So when we do our mathematics here, we get 20 pi here for the volume of a cylinder. And then up here, this is an order of operation problem. We do the inside of parentheses first. That'd be -3 squared, 10 minus 9 plus 8, and then we come up with 9. So it's an order of operations problem here. Okay, page 1 of our classwork. Square roots are written with the radical symbol like that. An expression written with a radical symbol is called a radical expression, or radical, just plain radical. Radical expression, this here is a radical. The number expression inside a radical symbol is called the radicand. Here's your radicand here. Here's your radical symbol. The whole thing is just called a radical. The radical symbol always indicates a non-negative square root of a number. For example, radical 25 is 5 because 5 squared equals 25. Okay, students, in your own words, define radical and define radicand. Okay. Moving on here, page 3 of our classwork. Use a calculator to find square roots. Find square root of 52. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. Check that your answer is reasonable. Okay, so we're going to use a calculator for this. Here's our calculator input. 52 radical, or radical 52 enter, and then you should get this, students, 7.211110. And then when you round this off, it'd just be, you'd round down to 7.2. So your rounded value would be right here. This is reasonable because 52 is between squares of what? Of 4964, and 52 is pretty close to 49. So it'd be closer to 7 than it would be to 8, would it not? So the answer, 7.2, is between 7 and 8. Check that your answer is reasonable. Of course it's reasonable. Okay, I got it practice here. Find the square root, round your answer to the nearest tenth. Check that your answer is reasonable. So that means use a calculator. Use a calculator here as well. So by using a calculator for both of these, teacher, wait on your students about 3-4 minutes. Then come up with this here for independent practice. Square root of 46 equals approximately 6.8 because 46 between the perfect squares 36 and 49. 46 should be between 36 and 49, so it's just about, it's closer to 49 than it is to 36. So 6.8 is definitely between 6 and 7, closer to 7 than to 6. That's reasonable, yes. And then 27 is 5.2 because you have 25, and then 36 will be your next perfect square. So the square root of 36, square root of 25. It's closer to 25. So, and the square root of 25 is 5, 5.2. That sounds reasonable too. Okay, classwork page 6. Find side lengths. Now we're going to move this over into finding side lengths of a triangle using a Pythagorean theorem. We have a square root of 2 and 3. This is a right triangle. So you square these, you'll get the square root of that as well. So here's our Pythagorean theorem. We plug in now square root of 2 squared, square root of 3 squared equals c squared. Yes? Here's our triangle again. So if we go through and we do our mathematics, we get 2 plus 3 equals square root of c. 5 equals square root, or rather c squared, 5 equals c squared. So how are we going to find c? We're going to have to take square root of both sides, yes? Take square root of each side. So this is c. What's square root of 5? 2.2, use a calculator. Boom, we're done. Square root of 5 is 2.2 approximately. Okay, into a guided practice, use Pythagorean theorem. Find the length of the hypotenuse. Write your answer in radical form. So we use Pythagorean theorem on both these. Students, get on this. And then we'll do this too. So for our independent practice here, we're going to use, here's our Pythagorean theorem formula here. We square square root of 19, square root of 10 equals c squared. 19 plus 10, 29 is equals c squared. We take the radical of both sides, and we get radical 29 equals c, which is what? About 5 point something, 5.3, something like that. And then up here, do the same thing here, students. Here it is here. Here's your Pythagorean theorem. And we get the square root of 20 here equals c. And then we factor out a radical out of this, square root of 4 times square root of 5, the product of radicals property. And square root of 4 is 2, then 2 times square root of 5, that would equal c here. Page 9 of our classwork. Multiply radicals. You can use product property radicals, multiply expressions. Radical a times radical b equals radical ab, where a is greater than 0, b is greater than 0. Okay, students, in your own words, product property radicals, define, and then radical expression, define, students, in your own words. Let's see your writing skills here. Page 11 in our homework. Multiply radicals. So multiply the radicals here, then simplify. So radical 3 times radical 7, what would that be? That would be radical 3 times 7, which would be radical 21, whatever that is. 4 point something, yes. And then b would be radical 2 times radical 8. Be radical 2 times 8, which is what? Radical 16, which is what, students? That would be 4. Okay, let's get into our guided practice now, our independent practice. Multiply the radicals and simplify. So down here on our independent practice, 5 times square root of 3 times square root of 3. What in the world would that be? Well, what's radical 3 times radical 3? That'd be 3. 5 times 3 would be what? So it'd be 5 times 3 times 3, which is 9. And then radical 9 would be 3. So we get 5 times 3 equals 15. That's using your product property radicals. Up here, what's radical 11 times radical 6? It would be radical 66, yes? So radical 66, what would that be? What's our closest perfect square to 66? It'd be 8. So it'll be a little bit more than 8, 8.1, something like that. Practice there. Okay. Classwork page 13. Simplifying radicals using product property radicals. Simplify radical expressions. Here we go with this one here. To factor the radicand, perfect square factors. So we're going to do that here. Simplify radicals. Simplify the radical expression. What perfect square radical would be a factor of 12? Well, radical 4 times radical 3. So we can pull this out here. And what's radical 4? It will be 2 times radical 3. That'd be the way that you would simplify this radical here, is to pull out a perfect square from this original radical here. And then b, same thing here. What is a factor of 45 that's a perfect square? It'd be radical 9 times radical 5. Radical 9 times radical 5 equals 3 times square root of 5. Yes? Okay, let's do the same thing up here. Simplify the radical, simplify the radical expression. So let's pull out a perfect square from 25, or rather from 75. That'd be 25, yes. A radical of 25 times radical 3, that'd be 5 times square root of 3. What about 112? What would be a perfect square? There'd be a whole bunch here that I can think of. But 16 would be one. 7 times 16. So square root of 16 is 4 times the radical 7. That'd be the way to factor this here. Ordering information. You want more PowerPoints videos, solution PowerPoints, or grading, or online tutoring, contact me here at this email address here. Thank you very much. Let's go into the homework real quick. Page 1. If you want to copy this off the video, pause your video to copy this homework down, or get a hold of me to get an actual hard copy of the homework. Otherwise, you can just copy this off of YouTube if you want. That's okay with me. Same thing here, page 4. If you want this graded, send me with a camera shot, a phone camera shot of your work, students, and I'll go ahead and grade that for you. Page 7 of the homework, and here you go. Email me here. Thank you.